to the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. It is good to be here today with a friend of mine, Kai Demandate. Guys, give it up for Kai. Woo!
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So, I like to start today with a question for my guest, if that works.
I like questions.
So, and a question for you guys at home is, what does mental health mean to you? Mental health is an umbrella term. I think it gets thrown down a lot today, almost overused.
Sure.
So let's talk about the word mental health. What does mental health mean to you?
Yeah, I think this is a great way to start off the conversation. I'm very much about semantics. That's why I like Socrates and his disciples like Plato and Aristotle, because they really cared about the meaning of words. Because how can you communicate effectively if you don't have a shared definition of words?
Yeah.
My definition of mental health and mental wellness, I took from this show called Midnight Gospel, which is based off Duncan Trussell Family Hour.
Midnight Gospel, go check it out if you guys haven't. It's a great show.
Really good show, especially on mindfulness, different perspectives on drugs and all of that, meditation, mental wellness, the whole thing. Shout out Duncan Trussell, shout out Joe Rogan Experience. They're very close. So this definition of mental wellness is basically dealing with reality on reality's terms. So people also have different opinions on objective versus subjective reality. I think what we can agree on is that there's something shared between our subjective realities, right?
Yes.
We can talk about this computer. This computer exists in our minds, but it also exists as a physical object outside of our minds. That's why we can both perceive it. That's why we can both agree that, it's on right now. It's recording on Audacity. And so we have to be able to deal with, let's say, this computer, or we could say complex issues, on those issues' terms. So when we look at people that have, let's talk about Kanye West, or people that have very public...
Mental health.
Right. Mental health breakdowns, you could say. And they're in the public eye, which makes it even harder because there's so much more criticism, there's a lot of hate online, which makes it really hard for a lot of people that have more outwardly displays of their mental, you could say, abnormalities or atypical parts of their psyche. Yeah. And so...
But atypical...
Atypical, yeah.
Neuro non-normative, I think is the word.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, for neuro non-normatives, especially if they express it, there's obviously some people that just shut it in, and it's very inwardly focused. There's other people that are more outwardly focused, and there's also people that can do a little bit of both, right?
Yeah.
But it's usually, society doesn't like the ones that do outward focusing. Mm-hmm. So a lot of hate for, obviously you could talk about cancel culture. I like to use Kanye West because I relate to his mental well-being in some senses. And I also just look up to him as a creative genius and influencer. Yeah. So for him, he's someone that I see is going through similar stuff to me, but he's obviously been dealing with it a lot longer. Yeah. He's tried different medications. He's obviously I haven't been officially diagnosed by.
That's a whole nother topic, medication.
Yeah. That's definitely something we can talk about later. Yeah. But as far as definition, I really like dealing with reality on reality's terms.
Okay. I would define mental health as the part of you. I would define mental health as an individual's well-being and maintenance of self-consciousness and awareness. Okay. I think it's an extremely complex and multifaceted issue. I think the problem in my eyes with mental health is there's so many different inputs. Sure. You guys right now watching us, that's an input into your brain. Right now you are feeding in a conversation that we are recording into your brain, which is going to have ripple effects on your day and mental health and well-being. What you ate for lunch, guys, is going to have ripple effects on your mental health and well-being. Whether or not you chose to move your lazy ass and work out this week is going to have an effect on your mental health and well-being. So there's all of these different things, and it's kind of like a recipe. We all have cups. And sometimes our cups can overflow. And when our cup overflows, you see breakdowns like Kanye West saying, we almost had an abortion. We had an abortion, right?
Yeah.
It's also where you'll see people snap, like a father, maybe get violent on a child or a spouse. That is a breakdown, right? It is a breakdown and a delineation from peace, right? Peace is at the center of a steady state human being. Peace is the aspect of what we are all seeking. Love begets peace. Without peace, you can't have love. That's why I have Lucy. She keeps me peaceful. This is all to say is that mental health and its relevance is any abstraction or deliverance from peace.
Interesting.
And it's how it is manifested on a neurological level. That's why when we bring in segueing to medication,
sure.
Medication is taking your neurological state and warping it by having SSRIs, right? Which is flooding your brain with serotonin.
Right.
Similar people will go to festivals or raves and flood their brains for serotonin in a ceremonious way with different drugs like Molly or acid or anything of the like.
Sure.
One is not better than the other. I think there needs to be more science studying exploration into using hallucinogenic drugs. I'm a big proponent of hallucinogenic drugs while taken in a controlled environment.
Sure. So not a festival, you mean?
I neither confirm nor deny. I was just at ACL this weekend.
2 weekends, you might be here next weekend.
Might be here next. Or Maui tomorrow. We'll see.
I mean, I've been going to a lot of festivals recently. I started after college. Before college, was very much, you could say, self-sheltered. I wouldn't say my parents pushed me to like socialize outside of school, but they knew my focus was grades. They knew my focus was being prepared to be an independent person. And I'm glad to say that I have reached that level of independence and even started paying back. Do you want to take her? Or is she good?
She's looking the shit at me.
No, it's all good. She just loves me.
She just loves you.
I've been trying to pay it back. I was very fortunate. How we met, obviously, is through Vanderbilt University. I think just through pickup basketball, maybe through some social events. You're class of 2019, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was class of 2018. So I had a lot of privileges in my life that let me be at the point where I am today. And that's why...
Like what?
Some of the privileges?
Yeah.
Sure. So I was the youngest of my mother and then my dad's only. So I had a lot of attention growing up, a lot of support, unconditional support. They also provided a lot of structure for me, even though they were divorced and I had 2 childhood homes, I had 2 sets of underwear. There's a lot of duality in my life because of split parents and they had 50-50 custody.
Yeah.
And also there's a lot of, I wouldn't say trauma, but there's a lot of struggles I had dealing with some of that. And being like a mediator between my parents, which is one reason I think I'm a good mediator now, because I just grew up having...
You are a good mediator.
Appreciate it. And that's why I have 2 guests on my podcast, right? Like,
yeah.
It's okay if they don't get along. But anyway, I'm deviating from the point. And the point being some of the privileges my parents gave, both of them were raised in families that valued education almost above anything else. For my dad's side, my dad's from the Philippines, my mom's from Southern California, French and German history. Only knew that because of 23andMe. But my dad's family also was raised with very strong family values, which is very common in a lot of minorities in this country.
It is, yeah.
And especially
poor
immigrants,
people.
Because that's the support system they have, and
they can't rely on money. In fact, with Christianity, it's the number one talked about vice is money, because it's the number one thing that allows you to not rely on God. Is money.
Interesting. That makes sense. Yeah. No, I think money and so there's obviously levels of financial freedom and levels of financial stability. and financial independence. So I think what I've been actually talking to recently with a lot of my raver friends, who are typically 23, 27, up to like 33, early 30s, is that there's this reliance on family for money, family for food, family for housing.
Yeah.
Which is good in a sense, but then you're giving up some freedom with those.
Oh yeah.
With providing that.
For sure. I mean, for me, when I was living at home, so for those of you that don't know, I lived at home for almost 2 years after college, and it was really hard for me because.
And COVID was one of those years, right?
COVID was one of them.
Yep.
Depression was one of that. Like, you go to college, you get your freedom, and then you see this weird sort of integration of college students moving back in with their parents.
Yep.
And it's like, wait, I want to go out and drink and do drugs, but my parents aren't okay with it. Wait, I want to not tell my parents everything because that hasn't been an established norm in our family.
Definitely.
But now they want to know what time I'm going to be home.
Sure.
And it creates this sort of relinquishing of freedom, but when you've been given freedom, it's hard to give it up.
Definitely. Yeah, there's a lot of people, class of 2019, class of 2020, even class of 2021. Luckily, we'll see how we get a handle of the social integration of COVID and vaccines and all of that stuff. That's still TBD. But yeah, and even the high school graduates, I'm sure it was very difficult. Remote learning. There's a lot of societal changes that.
Well, you're seeing less people go to college now.
Yeah, definitely. Less people go to college, and they're just delaying that, which I think is actually a good thing. I wish I delayed going to college for a year or two.
Yeah.
I know my parents, they usually don't push me in any direction, but I think they definitely pushed me to, right after high school, go to college, right? And I think a lot of people that went to our school.
Oh yeah.
Did that.
I went to an all boys Catholic high school with 44 guys in my graduating class.
Wow.
Every single guy matriculated. So could you imagine if
You didn't?
Yeah.
Oh,
As someone who was relatively close to the top,
sure.
I was 12 out of 44, and I went to Vanderbilt. Think about that. Every single guy above me went to a better school than Vanderbilt.
That's crazy.
Welcome to Cistercian.
Did anyone below go higher or better?
Mm.
Yeah. A lot of Ivy Leagues, I assume. A lot of Hipsums.
Yeah, for sure. Oh man, ow.
You good?
Bug bites.
Oh, okay. I have icy hot, but I don't think that'll help with bug bites.
See how our audience is doing. I'm also ADHD and can't sit down.
You're good, bro.
We got 38 people.
What's goody, 38 people?
What's up, people? What do you want us to talk about? Leave in the comments.
Can you check mine?
One guy said just two bros chilling out.
Very accurate description. This is a similar vibe to my podcast. I feel like this type of dialogue and podcast, not to self-promote, but...
Well, you're half the podcast right now, so of course it's going to be so...
Journeys with Kai, season 2, just started. I had Ariana Fowler.
56 people now.
Oh, shit. I need to start talking about my podcast more, bro. No, I'm kidding. And then Joseph Adiola. We talked a lot about...
What do you guys want to hear us talk about? This is for you guys. What do you guys feel needs to be discussed?
This one's very sensitive, so just
Your
be careful
iPhone
touching.
dies.
That's okay. That's the least important.
I'm gonna go live again. Alright, you're good.
Alright, cool. Yeah, I can literally talk about anything. Jack knows. Jack got very...
We're in Austin, Texas, guys, just so you know.
It's my first time. And what a trip. What a trip, Lucy.
Look at Lucy chilling.
Lucy likes me.
Lucy likes everybody.
It's true. She's a very good dog. Jack, Garda Doodles.
Garda Doodles.
Garda Doodles. No Jack.
So, Kai,
Go for it.
Why don't you tell our audience more about you?
Okay.
Who are you? Why don't you tell the audience this? What has the life force of Kai Demandate been on the world in the last 25 years?
Life force?
You are a life force, yeah?
Sure.
What has that life force been on the world? You've mentioned that you've been a selfish life force.
Is he selfish?
A selfish life force.
Sure.
What has that life force been the last 25 years, and what do you want your life force to be the next 50 years?
Ooh, that's a big time scale.
Yeah. Well, this is a sort of a third of your life right now that you're.
I hope it's more of a quarter, but yeah, sure.
You're gonna live to 100.
At least, yeah.
You got the Asian genes.
Yeah.
I'd be down. What comment below, guys? At what age you would be down to die at? I think like 90 is a good age to go.
I'd do 130.
130.
Given my
Keep drinking some green tea.
given my consciousness doesn't get uploaded before then,
Yeah.
which is definitely a
Possible. I think we're living in the rapture, personally.
Explain that more.
I think we are living at the end of the world. I think the apocalypse is more near than we think. I think if you are not doing right now what you love doing, and you are not with people that you love, you're wasting your time, and you have a complete misunderstanding of you should never put your time in. That's like the stupid, time is the only resource we don't get back.
Yeah, I think
You can get money back.
I agree with you. I think we're on the precipice of something great for our society and
Or terrible,
for
detrimental.
individuals. I'm like a eternal optimist, so I will always think it's going to be we're on the precipice of something good. And in my life, I'm usually correct. For other people, I mean, millions of people died last year.
Yeah, there's some disease or something, like the flu or something.
Yeah, it's crazy. There'll be diseases, there'll be more COVIDs, there'll be more whatever. It's really more of a uniting force than a dividing force, but some people use it as a dividing force. Obviously, we've lived through Zika, we've lived through Ebola, we've lived through E. coli, we've lived through a lot of shit. We're just gonna keep on living, whether it's us or it's other people. That's what I think this is a good transition. I think last year my big revelation was coming to terms with my own death, I guess. And I don't mean that.
Your finality.
Yeah, I was like, okay, I don't know when I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
And I was at peace with the fact that I didn't know when, that I wanted.
But answer my question before you get too tangential.
Okay, yeah.
What has the life force of Kai Demandate been on the world in your first 25 years to this day, and what do you want it to be moving forward? How would you, as the CEO of your life, make changes and alterations and?
It's my own life.
Well, first analyze it. First understand the problems and just beautiful dark twisted fantasy that is Kai Demandate.
Easy.
Please prescribe that for the audience, and then afterwards I'd like you to say, okay, what's the diagnosis and what's the treatment for self-actualization and good life?
Sure.
Namely.
I love all the Kanye references, even Good Life. Yeah, so I was raised essentially as an only child. My sisters are 7 and 9 years older than me. And
it's a big difference.
Yeah, it's big. And they're also, different father. They also lived half and half. So there's a lot of reasons why I felt like I was an only child growing up. I think one of the benefits of being an only child is I learned to be okay by myself. Even if my parents aren't around, my parents definitely left me,
It's definitely something you're better than me at.
Yeah, and it's tough. It's not I definitely went through my struggles. I just went through them earlier, right? A lot of people, especially in the early 20s, once they reach a little more independence, go to new places. Yeah. It's difficult for them because they don't have the skill sets, they don't have the tools that I've been building my whole life, basically, right? But in terms of life force and if I was going to, diagnose where I have been, where I am, and where I'm going, I think, from the ages, 0 to 22, I've just been a taker. I've been
a taker.
Yeah, and I think it's totally fine. You're not expecting.
Takers are at the top. Under givers, but they're so. Have you read Give and Take?
No.
Oh.
But
it's a great book, Adam Grant.
Adam Grant. Oh, I love Adam Grant. Yeah. So, and I think that's expected. I don't think I should feel guilty. I definitely did feel guilty, and still little do feel guilty, as a burden to my parents. My parents didn't come from money, and they never had money. My mom.
Which is crazy for you to not be more obsessed with money.
I mean,
for you to be so nonchalant with money with someone that has so little growing up is it's kind of like a simulation fuck. It's you take people in your position and normally they're so obsessed with money.
Yeah.
And you're basically flipping off the simulation and saying, Nah.
Yeah. No, yeah. I choose
elsewhere.
And I think that's why my parents focused on education, because they saw that as a way of economic mobility and wealth generation. And
Oh yeah, I mean,
they were correct.
if you couldn't code, you wouldn't work at Oracle.
No, and I'm sure if we do something else, that'd be good. I mean, my
You'd be good at sales.
Yeah, I could do sales. My first internship was sales and marketing after my sophomore year, because I couldn't find a technical internship. I was still a chemie at that point.
And what's chemie for?
Chemical engineering. So yeah, I mean, since we're on that topic, yeah, I mean, I think another privilege I had, and it's gonna
Cheers, by
sound
the way.
cheers. This is gonna sound very, floating my own boat, but I think I have a decently high mental capacity.
Yeah, you do.
Appreciate
I think
it.
everyone at Vanderbilt does.
Yeah. And so I didn't have to try at Vanderbilt. I tried in my social life. I tried in other aspects. I tried in sports a little bit.
Academically, but you also didn't do very well.
Yeah, no. And I when I got my first B sophomore year English, B plus in Miss Taylor's class.
Fuck Miss Taylor, by the way.
No, she's great. But no.
Just kidding. We
Yeah.
love you, Miss Taylor.
I mean, just because I got a B doesn't mean I wasn't one of the smartest kids in the class.
Yeah.
It just means I didn't try hard. So I was like, oh, grades are a reflection of your time spent at a certain point, not
Yeah.
of your intellect. So I stopped basing my intelligence based on my, what
Result.
Yeah, and I was
Stop being results driven. Like, I mean, the world is results driven.
I think the universe is intention driven. I think it's all about what you intend, because we live in a multi-chasm of different results going on where I can't control your input. I can only control my own. So I'm going to judge not your output but your input, and I'm going to judge my own personal input.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
Um,
We like to judge each other on their impact and ourselves on our intention. I think we should flip it. I think we should judge ourselves by our impact, because we know what we're capable of actually inputting. And we should judge ourselves not to demean ourselves, but to come up with a better way to actualize results. And we should judge other people based off their intention, realizing that they're fallen people. Lucy! Come here, Lucy.
is that a thought you've had before?
No, I just came up with
Love it.
that. Lucy, come here.
I think one thing I'm really good at is supporting people in reaching conclusions they might not reach before, just because of the way I phrase things, or just because, I mean, we haven't hung out that much, right? Like, you don't know.
Yeah.
You've seen probably some of the podcasts. I've seen some of your
I've watched all of your stuff, man.
Oh, I appreciate that.
I mean, I want to show you with my intention that I want to be your friend. That's why your words hurt me last night.
No, yeah, no worries. And I'm definitely, I think that's what people don't understand me, because they only have seen the last, 5-10 years of my life, maybe 5 years, is that I was definitely a mean kid. Definitely a selfish kid. I would say my natural state is more leaning towards that. More towards...
Oh, interesting. I'm very innocent.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah.
But it just means that if I'm in an altered state where it's more like my inhibitions are down...
You're going to go back to the steady state.
Exactly.
Until you change the steady state.
Exactly. And so,
Which, for me, the only thing that's done that is Jesus.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. My mom was Mormon. She left the church when I was in college. She was
Matthew Ridgway Zapata? He just added me on LinkedIn. I assume it was because of you.
Yeah, he was a transfer student, right?
No idea. Sorry,
It's
continue.
probably because I tagged you.
Yeah.
LinkedIn's one of my strongest networks currently.
Really?
I don't have to search for a job. They just come to me. I have to choose which ones I want to talk to. At some point, I need to start blocking people on LinkedIn because they're annoying. But that's
Look at all these bites, dude.
Yeah, see... Yeah, I would say those are fleas. Those are probably just abrasions and...
No, they're fleas. They searched. Anyway. What do you want to talk
That's a
about?
tangent. Let's see. So we're on your platform primarily, your first podcast.
Yeah.
Talk
First
about-
interview.
First interview.
My life story was my first, and if you guys haven't gone checked it out, please email me.
Yeah, it's one of the first things you showed me. It's definitely high quality. I want to do something similar. I think I'm still, like I said, I'm still connecting some dots between my past and my present.
Yeah, it's it's a cathartic experience, guys.
Yeah, and so since I'm so internally focused, I wouldn't say I have split personality disorder or whatever the fuck, but not to lower that. I say whatever the fuck just because I don't know about that kind of disorder. But so here's an example of my only child upbringing, right? So I would play board games by myself, and I would play as like 4 different people. And then usually it's like a TV show. Like there'd be like a girl, and there'd be a guy, and then like I would assume one of the roles, and then like the guy would always be nice to the girl, and then there was some like tension between the girl and the other guys. Like, you know, very, very elementary school, middle school level shit. And I think growing up, one of the reasons I'm able to communicate with people very well is that growing up I would think about social interactions a lot. Future ones, past ones, ones that happened on TV, and I would very like a psychologist or whatever, I would analyze it and try to learn from it. And along this topic a little bit, when you are, and on my last podcast, Ariana Fowler talked about how she was like a crippling empath.
Yeah.
And I mean, imagine being a crippling empath, which maybe you are too, but during COVID, like, and the Black Lives Matter movement. She's also, I'm not sure if she's full or half, it doesn't even matter at all. But she identifies with that cause. And in Vanderbilt, I had a lot of, you know, black friends, and a lot of them also empathize with that cause, and I also empathize with that cause.
Black Lives Matter?
Yeah.
I like Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
I mean, for all lives to black lives have to matter first, right? Because they've been marginalized.
Exactly. And
it's when you are okay with robbing and looting innocent stores and innocent business. It's
and
not
so
okay.
I have an opinion on that as well. I think there are certain causes that property damage does not matter.
Like Target?
Sure. Fuck Target. Fuck Amazon.
Like big business.
Yeah, exactly. Businesses that can afford it. Now, if you're talking like local mom and pop shops, if you're talking about people's like livelihoods.
Yeah.
Sure, there's a lot more.
Do you think that the grand population is able to discern the difference? Because that seems like an elevated delineation.
I would say more people need to listen, and more people need to practice empathy and compassion, and critically think for themselves. And I think our education system, especially in America, does not promote critical thinking.
Memorization.
Exactly. And
regurgitation.
I think International Baccalaureate, which I was a part of since 4th grade.
You were IB? Did you like IB?
I loved IB. My mom's a huge proponent of it. My mom's background is in education. My dad's obviously, I mean, any Asian family is going to value education highly.
Yeah.
Not to say other, races don't, but it is a stereotype
white people.
That rings true. And my mom was also a huge proponent of education. Her whole family is a very well educated family, and in general very well off. They definitely have some generational wealth. I don't know how far back it goes, because I'm not as close with my white side as my Filipino side. Definitely identify more on the Filipino side. And that changed growing up. And that's the other thing about like being a mixed kid, right, Jack? Like, your identity isn't as solely tied to one thing. So I feel a little bit...
I don't have a single race.
Yeah, exactly. And
Which
even
is
if you
hard.
do have a single race, it doesn't mean you can't identify with parts of other races, right?
I don't think you can in the same way.
Oh, definitely not in the same way. But you, like, let's say, you're a white kid that grew up in Harlem in the 40s,
Sure.
right?
There's definitely something about geographic location.
Yeah.
Yeah, and socioeconomic
And social
status.
network. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just like I remember, this is slightly adjacent to the point that we're talking about, but I remember in middle school I started watching South Park, and that's when I started cussing. Like, I remember thinking like, oh, I'm cussing because I'm watching South Park, and I cuss all the time.
South Park. I never got into South Park.
I love it now.
Are you guys team South Park? Leave in the comments.
Yeah, who do you identify most in South Park? I definitely fuck with Cartman heavy, but that's a pretty basic one. Butters is pretty funny, but I don't really identify with him. He's too buttersy.
So, okay, what do you think, like, what changes do you think need to be made, I think, on a personal level? I don't like politics.
For myself?
Yeah.
Or for the society? You said politics?
For yourself, that's the only thing you can control.
Yeah.
I don't like politics. I think it's too...
I'm a big fan of politics.
I think it's too macrocosm, and we need to focus more on microcosm.
Yeah. I mean, think locally, act locally.
Yeah. So, like, for you gave a sort of cryptic definition of yourself. what's the future like for Kai?
For Kai, that's a good
Also in the comments, people are like, "Who is this guy?" I said, "Kai Demonante from Vanderbilt." I don't know if I introduced you.
Yeah, I mean, if people are joining lately, I would care less about, fame, clout, whatever the fuck. I just want to make a positive impact while I'm here on Earth, in this body, in this mind, in this state, right? Like, I'm in a current state where I think I'm allowed to influence people, and thank you for boosting me on your platforms. I'm very appreciative of anyone that, takes time to listen to me, to have dialogues with me, that invites me to Austin.
Even if they've been a shitty host.
No, see, I'm still here, and so I'm a very forgiving person, and I definitely.
Today's been a better day.
Today's been a great day, and we'll have great days in the future. I'm very future oriented. I have to live in the present, and I try to.
Yeah, as long as it's not a detriment of the present.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of people our age are a little too focused on the present, not focused enough about like.
Yeah, they don't plan.
Yeah, and I've been prudent.
You can presently plan, Yeah,
definitely.
You can mindfully plan.
Yeah, or at least block I did junior RTC for 3 years in high school, Air Force junior RTC, and one of the things I think is.
You did ROTC?
Junior RTC. I wasn't not in college.
Oh,
high school. It's just like it's basically like an extracurricular / class in high school. But Master Sergeant Rush.
People call it ROTC elsewhere.
Yeah, but for like
Vanderbilt, we all called it ROTC. We should talk about Vanderbilt too.
Definitely.
We should give them like a. We weren't kings at Vanderbilt, so
I was a king.
We were kings in our own name, right?
Yeah.
We should talk about Vanderbilt, I think.
You want to do that now? Cool. I'm down.
All right.
I'm very flexible.
Finish with your mission statement for the rest of your life. What would you tell you tomorrow for
like my mantra, like my
No, like mission? What do you want to achieve in your life?
What I want to achieve?
Before you die.
I would say
since you're aware of your finality, what's important?
Inspiration.
For others?
Uh-huh.
Cool. How do you want to inspire them? Does it matter?
No. I want to understand enough people that I can inspire enough people.
Louis Vuitton's inspirational.
A lot of brands are. I fuck with Apple. Fuck with Steve Jobs Apple, not the
Steve OG Apple. None of this 13 Pro Max shit.
Tim Cook Apple is just too.
We're gonna look back at the iPhone and be like, that was a dinosaur phone.
Oh, I'm looking at it right now and I know it's a dinosaur phone. I mean, we're recording this on my Z Fold, bro. Z Fold is infinite.
Apple baby, give me a job. Give me a job.
Nah, bro, don't worry about jobs. Jobs are fake.
Jobs are fake. Money's fake. All right, so Vanderbilt, guys. So
let's do it.
I was a tour guide at Vanderbilt.
Oh shit, really?
Yeah.
That's actually very prestigious. And if you also went to a prestigious college, you know it's a very rigorous application cycle.
Yeah, so we both went to Vanderbilt, the number 14 school in the nation in Nashville, Tennessee. It is home to about 6,800 undergrad. There are 4 main schools on campus: the College of Arts and Science, the Blair School of Music, the College of Engineering, and Peabody School of Human Development and Education. Also home of HOD or HODZ, as you've heard it before,
or also known as Human Organizational Development,
or the MRS degree, whatever you are. I was an HOD minor, so I can shit talk it. I was an econ major, HOD minor.
Did you know Ben Shear?
Yeah.
Is he good or evil?
I don't want to say.
Okay.
You know Mark Shear?
Who?
Mark Shear?
No.
There's a Ben and a Mark Shear. Anyway, I think he's good. I'm a hopeless optimist. Kai,
but we're in an apocalypse.
What was your major?
Started out chemical engineering, switched to engineering science, which is like a make your own engineering degree. Well, it's a BS, but it's in the engineering school. And I minored, so it's like you choose your own courses as long as it fits the general engineering requirements. So I minored in computer science, scientific computing, and engineering management.
And just so you know, Kai was not in a fraternity. I was in Bucks, which is a Christian fraternity. I wasn't even really a Christian at the time. I was a nominal Christian. Like Vanderbilt is nominally in the SEC. They do not compete. I was not competing in the spiritual warfare. I was a junior Christian, junior level.
Sure.
Anyway,
No, go ahead. I'm just
Vanderbilt was instrumental in a lot of ways. It broke my mental health down and showed me that I really did need help. I think it was a failure in a lot of ways. It was my first failure. I had never failed before.
Oh. Okay.
So it was healthy for me in a lot of ways. I got cut from almost every frat for hooking up with girls in fraternities. Or not.
Oh.
Hooking up, yeah. You know the guys
Those are
that are kind of,
trans.
yeah. AOPI? No, I'm just kidding. Sorry. AOPI is a story.
You mean AE pie, bro?
AE pie. Yeah, Micah, where are you at?
Yikers.
Wow,
we're name dropping on this one.
We are
Holy
name
shit.
dropping. Anyway, I got cut from a lot of frats for
You'll be
being a
canceled.
fuckboy. And
Let's talk about fuckboy culture.
fuckboy
first.
culture. I don't think it's real. I think it's insecurity based, to be honest. But anyway, we're here to talk about Vanderbilt.
Yep.
Why you guys should probably not go to Vanderbilt and go to your local school. Choose local, dine local, support small business. I am a huge fan of University of Texas in Austin. We are in Austin right now.
Wonderful school.
It's so dope. I'm going to probably get a JD MBA here. But we're just here to talk about Vanderbilt and why no matter where you end up at Vanderbilt, if you're in the Greek culture or if you're not, I think it's ultimately a very unhealthy society.
Like
Socially very toxic.
Sure.
I don't know what you're
And
saying.
that's not unique to Vanderbilt.
Or
It's-
me.
Yeah, or unique to elite institutions.
Yeah. I thought it was very toxic, but I don't know what you're saying.
No,
I'm gonna go pee.
I agree, and I think.
Yeah, talk to
Do
the
you want me
camera.
to keep talking?
Yeah, just talk to the camera about Vanderbilt. I'm gonna go pee and get coffee.
Yeah. So you know the academic history. I already tooted my own horn about like how hard I tried in school, which was not hard.
150 people.
Holy sheesh. All right, 150 people. I think it's like 130 credit hours to graduate. Engineering is always high. I think chemical engineering and biomedical engineering are the highest in terms of number of courses you have to take, or credit hours, and then I don't know what's below that. But that's why you see like triple majors in the arts and science and. You know, Blair School of not Blair, jeez, Peabody School of Education, but you're not going to see many triple majors in School of Engineering. I was a triple minor. That doesn't mean too much because those all fed into my single major. But in terms of, I'm trying to think of what parts I should save for when Jack comes back, but I'll wait for the fuckboy talk. Obviously, I mean, we both had a pretty poor reputation in college among certain circles, related to, you know, sexual promiscuity, womanizing, you know, been called a fuckboy plenty of times, enough to identify with it. That's the funny thing about when people tell you stuff. If enough people tell you something, you just assume it as part of your identity. And letting go of that is very difficult, especially if you don't have, you know, outside affirmation. Luckily, at this point, I've reflected on it long enough. I've talked to, you know, some of the people I've heard, not all of them, to realize my behavior was pretty unacceptable in college. I think my intentions in general were correct. Just people mistook my intentions, and I think this happened to Jack too. You know, I was born and raised in Colorado Springs, and I went to school in Nashville. Didn't know anyone at the school, so I knew I had to put myself out there socially, which is something I was not used to doing. So it came off as awkward. It came off as I was interested in something more than just being friends. I'd also, like, you know, I was a virgin before college. Never dated anyone. Had a really awkward senior prom. Due to my fault, not due to the date's fault. I think that was my first depressive episode. Honestly, was in senior year of high school. My dad definitely. Anyone in my family, anyone else that knows me, that I was acting very differently. I would not say I was suicidal, but I would say that I did not care for my life too much. There's this song off Ye called I Thought About Killing You. It's the first song off the album, or extended play. It's only 7 songs. I think it's 7 songs. But it's basically about, like, him and Kim Kardashian said, hey, I thought about... Oh, no, I think it's I thought about killing myself. No, it's I thought about killing you. But his point is that I've thought about killing you, and I've thought about killing myself, and I care about myself way more than I care about you. And that's something I share. I recently got out of like one of my longest and most loving relationships, and one of my most positive relationships in my life, romantic relationships. And I shared that song with her. I hope she listened to it and like really try to understand why I sent it to her, because that's how I feel. I don't feel like, I'm not an angry person, not a violent person. I would never, actually, go through with harming anyone, unless I feel threatened or unless someone I love feels threatened. But I fundamentally believe that everyone acts out of their own self-interest. Just some people's self-interest is tied to the well-being of other people, and that's where I am right now. So I think my, what's best for me is also how much I can help people. What's best for me is how much I can help out Jack. That's why I'm here. I don't care about the podcast. I don't care about, clout. I don't care about money. I care about helping out people that reach out and being as helpful as I can. And I wish I was a better friend yesterday. We both tripped and we had very different experiences. Obviously, I was in a new place, a new town. I have some family stress going on. Nothing huge. I also have relationship stress. Work stress isn't too bad. Work's actually going very well, which has been a real burden off my shoulders. The Things We Carried is a really good book, by the way, about burden. It's like the Vietnam War, and anyways, that's neither here nor there. But what am I trying to say? Let's just talk about burden, I guess. Hopefully no one's left. Actually, hopefully no one's left. Hopefully there's enough people that are still listening, but I'm always worried, just on some real shit, that like I'm talking and no one's listening, especially when I'm doing like psychedelic trips. I talk a lot. Like, you think I talk a lot now? This is me sober. Like, imagine me with like my mind expanded and lowered inhibitions because of alcohol. Like, I annoyed the heck out of Jack yesterday because he was just like, shut up. And I'm like, bro, this is me tripping. Like, if you didn't want some chaos and some manic in your life, you invited the wrong person. And that's something, so I'm getting better at controlling my own mania, my own hypermania. But it's still hard for me to control my effect on other people. And if I truly want to be an influential person, like I do, and an inspirational person, I need to learn how to control that a little bit better. I think a dog will help. I think a more nurturing, supportive relationship and partner will help. Not to say my past wasn't, just when I needed her, that's when she broke up with me. Hey, Lucy. No, that's not for eating. That's not for eating. Alright, I shouldn't swallow it. That's good. But yeah, here, I'll look at comments. I like to also move. I'm a little bit ADHD or whatever you want to call it. So I'm gonna see if there's any. I'm better if I'm talking about something. Yeah, there's 11 people. That makes a lot more sense. I'm gonna turn off requests to join this because that's not what this is about. Turn off requests to go live. Also, shamelessly promote my podcast, Journeys with Kai. Journeys with Kai Season 2. It's on all, major platforms. Any comments I can answer. I'm better if I have something to go off of. That's my handle I pinned, because why not? I'll make sure this is still recording. Yeah. But yeah, obviously he has a way bigger platform than me. Wait, there's one question. Are you gay? I am not. I can't speak for Jack. He can answer that question, but I'm happy gay, but I'm not homosexual. Thank you for your question. Any other questions? I think Jack's just using the restroom. Also, I don't know why he doesn't use. I think he should just get off this Wi-Fi low key. Hopefully this is better. Yeah, we'll just do it back. Actually, wait, let me see something. I like these filters, but these filters is sick low key. Whoa. Yeah. Oh. Was giddy.
Added everyone in the gym to it.
Nice. Lucy. Lucille Ball.
yourself. All right, I don't want to hear that. I don't do anything for you.
When did I say that?
Last night you said I'm not helping you.
Last night you weren't helping me.
I wasn't, but it doesn't mean I never.
You never have. Not saying you
I
never
have.
will. How have you helped me in the back?
I've been a friend to you. I've supported you when people have criticized you.
Yeah.
I've stood up for you when it hasn't benefited me.
Oh, like, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because I wouldn't tell you about that. Because why would I want to bring you down?
No, but I mean, you could have told me you supported me. I don't know that.
Of course I do.
I don't know, dude.
Do you want to take a break?
Yeah, I take a little fiber.
I was thinking about going to the pool now.
Oh,
Getting
like a
outside.
break. Yeah, I'm down.
Yeah, I don't really want
We
to.
can just have everything set up.
Yeah,
Keep
just
it.
leave it. Yeah.
So let's pause this. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
And we'll save it.
Hit stop.
Oops. What the fucking fuck?
You already stopped, I guess.
Let me just make sure. I think there's multiple.
No, you ended it.
Oh, I ended it? Okay.